And Merry Christmas. I'm Jeff Lyons here on December 5 and 20. It is Thursday night, time for the 14 First Alert Weather Show at 9. We do them every night to keep you informed on the weather, give you an alternate here to get just the weather before the news comes on at 10 o'clock. And as always, it's interactive. I'm watching your comments on the 14 News Facebook page, so chime right in if you have some questions or concerns for me, and we'll get to those little ways into the show. It is not quite as foggy as it was earlier today, and certainly not as bad as it was last night. Still quite a bit of fog over the river. You've got that colder water and the warm, moist air right on top of it. Overnight, though, we may still see some patches of dense fog out there, but not as much as last night, and we will maintain mild temperatures. We are in line to have a record high low temperature for tomorrow morning or overnight, however you want to look at it. Still a few showers along the way. We may pick up some thunderstorms on Sunday. That's a new development, and then sharply colder heading into early next week. Right now, visibilities are looking pretty good around the area, with the exception of southern Illinois. We're down to 1 3/4 miles at Mount Carmel. Certainly, much better than yesterday, and down to about 4 miles at Huntingburg. The fog forecast pretty much keeps the fog to our northeast, but we might again see some localized fog around the rivers and any place where you have standing water out there in fields and so forth. Well, we hit 65 today. That makes this the third warmest Christmas on record in the tri-state since records began way back in 1897. 2021 still keeps its perch there with that. It was sunny that day in 72. We didn't have much sun at all and still managed to get up to 65. The most recent warm Christmas was 2019 with 68 degrees. And as I mentioned before, the Christmas Day temperature is highly variable. I think the last white Christmas we had, we may have had some snow on the ground back in 2022, if memory serves. And I know we had some on the in 2020. I drove through it to get to church that morning. We were real light dusting out there. But anyway, just a little history for you. The weather forecast basically breaks down into two camps, spring and winter. And we are in the spring preview now. Temperatures tomorrow still up close to 70 degrees. We may actually hit a 70 tomorrow, and again Sunday with very strong winds out of the south, right before we drop down to 27 for the high on Monday, and then kind of scratch our way back up to near normal by the middle of next week. Now, the Storm Prediction Center did come out today with an outlook for thunder to our northwest for Saturday. This does not include any tri-state counties, but it's worth noting that some of the ingredients may come together for some thunderstorms. Again, severe weather really not indicated, at least not widespread severe weather. I don't think you can completely rule it out, at least, one or two storms that might produce damaging winds or hail. But overall, the pattern still really isn't the one we would need to have severe storms. Looking overnight through tomorrow, we maintain cloudy skies through sunrise, and then temperatures will climb. And if we get that sun, that break of sun there early in the afternoon, we could actually get up to 70 tomorrow. And then by Saturday and Sunday, more clouds, and this is ahead of that cold front. So we will have increasing southwest winds as the pressure gradient tightens, and that will advect or pull warm air up from the south during that time. So that's why we could see an early high in the upper 60s or around 70, then falling temperatures once the cold front comes through. We have no rain to show you on the radar right now, and even at the wider scan, only a few scattered showers out there along Interstate 64 between Lexington and about Ashland, Kentucky, Huntington, West Virginia, and down here toward Bluefield and in that region there of southern West Virginia. We're still at 61 degrees at this hour. Now, we got up to 65 this afternoon, but the air is so moist that it is not giving up those degrees very quickly. So we will stay warm overnight, and our low today only got down to 53, and then of course we got up to that 65 that I mentioned earlier. Now, to give you some perspective, these temperatures are even warmer than what we had yesterday at this time, and our low was 25 degrees above normal. The high was 22 degrees above normal. That's a tremendous deviation from the norm. Anything over about 10, 12 degrees turns your head, but 20 degrees is really out there. And our week here continues pretty much as forecast. Monday was the coolest day with 55, and we will add a couple more 60s or even 70s this month or this week to round out the month there with some very warm weather. The stats for the month now, we are still a little behind on rainfall for the month. We haven't had a good dose of rain. You know, it's been these kind of scattered showers, kind of dribs and drabs, but no significant rainfall. Driving tomorrow, whether you're heading back home or you've got family heading home, whatever it happens to be, it's going to be cloudy again and maybe a few showers in the morning, and temperatures then rising into the mid to upper 60s. The weather map right now, of course, is quiet in the eastern half of the country. We have some rain as far north as Minneapolis. You know, we're not the only ones that are abnormally warm. These mild temperatures extend all the way up into Michigan and Wisconsin, places that would normally be quite cold this time of the year. Low pressure continues to pump the mild air up and will actually provide the focus maybe for some snow out over New England beginning tomorrow and going into Saturday. For us, our main concern will be how the cold front interacts with the warm, moist air over the tri-state. By early Sunday morning, showers and storms lined up along the front, and then those will start to drop in here on Sunday night. On the GFS model, you see rain really picking up after 8 p.m. Sunday and continuing into early Monday morning, maybe even a brief transition to or changeover to snow as it moves out. We're not seeing any accumulations on any of the modeling at this point, but it doesn't surprise me. You get that much moisture and then that quick drop, we could definitely see that change there, changeover. Briefly. The European model also stacking up with the GFS, at least in terms of timing for the rainfall coming down, and then we could get a decent rain out of this, maybe half an inch or even an inch in some spots. The changeover to snow does not show up in the European, indicating that the rain will be out of here too quickly before the cold air, at least the below freezing air, moves in. And both models showing a turn to southerly winds by the middle of the week, which would moderate the temperature a bit and get us back up to closer to that normal, which would be about 40 degrees. 60 tonight, still some patchy, dense fog. I didn't take that out of the forecast. That's kind of been ongoing. And then up to 68. Wouldn't surprise me to see 70 here or there tomorrow if we get some sunshine. 71 on Sunday, still possible with those strong winds out of the south. And then we really knuckle down there for the start of next week with sharply colder temperatures. Still above normal, though, going into the first week of 2026, and a little bit wetter than normal, too. And a good Christmas-themed pet pick for you tonight. I think Oriole was actually on a couple nights ago with me, but we'll do it again here. Oriole looks like having fun there under the tree. All right, let me see if you have comments or questions. I'm not really sure how many of us will even be on here tonight. You know, it's a holiday, so a lot of people kind of off their normal, routine. Let's see what we have here. Oh, we got a few. Oh, we got our regulars. All right, there's Jeanette Rice. Hey, Jeanette, how are you doing? Let's see. Zach Seed says Evansville expected to get widespread severe weather this weekend. Our going answer is still no, Zach. As I mentioned, it wouldn't surprise me to hear some thunder or even get a thunderstorm or two on Sunday night. And Michael Fecka will be here through the weekend. Keep an eye on that for you and update anything. William Raleigh says Merry Christmas. It was a merry one. It was. Thank you. I hope you had a good one too. Ours was kind of low key this year. My kids are grown, so my daughter and her fiance came. They gave me one of those bird feeders with the camera in it, so I put it up today. I mean, the weather was perfect. I thought, I don't want to be doing this when it's 20. So I got out there and we will be watching birds. I know nothing about birds. I love birds, but I don't know like which song is what. And I know like cardinals, robins, blue jays, crows, the obvious ones, red-winged blackbird. But we get a lot of different ones. I live right in town, and so anyway, this will be fun. But we did that and a oh, made bacon and eggs, and they headed off to the movies, and I took a nap for Christmas. My son and his girlfriend are in Chicago, so I won't get to see them until tomorrow, which is why I won't be here. And then what else do we have going on? Not that you care. You come over, read the refrigerator, and see what we have going on at the house. You post stuff on there. Chris Smith says Merry Christmas. All right. And Teresa Bradley says Merry Christmas. Oh, well, you're welcome for the weather report. That's what we do here. I think I got all your questions answered there. Yeah, I'm just tickled. We have this many people watching. Christmas is interesting. I always, when I was a kid, everything shut down. You didn't leave the house. People came over, or we went to my grandma's, but it was everything just shut down. And now, it's kind of, stuff's going on. People are at the movies or bowling, things like that. So, and that's fine. But yeah, I was actually out yesterday, Christmas Eve, and business as usual. It was quieter on, what day is today? It was quieter Monday. I was out running some errands, and there was like nobody out. People, I guess, wanting to get that holiday started early. And of course, this 2-week period, the one with Christmas in it, and then next week with New Year's, it's like nothing happens in the world. I mean, I don't mean it that way, but it just seems like if you're trying to make appointments or set stuff up or something breaks down, it's really hard to find people this time of the year. All right, for Science Corner, I've got a cool one for you here. I think I've showed this before, but these become a little more common when we have colder air in place. Certainly not today, but we sometimes will get a deck of altocumulus clouds, and they get a hole in them or some sort of streak running through them. And these pictures were taken a while back in McLean County by Bruce Mason and Susan Bluss there. And you can see where it looks like somebody just basically took a big spoon or something and carved out the clouds. Well, actually, we call that a fall streak cloud, and it is caused by a couple of things. The most likely culprit is aircraft. And when you get a deck of altocumulus clouds up there, and you see these a lot, especially when the weather's colder, you'll get a layer of the atmosphere where the conditions are just right, and clouds form. They don't go above it, they don't go below it, so you kind of get this floor, if you will, or ceiling. And if a plane should fly through, the air rushes over the wings, and that causes at least localized expansion of the air, and that in turn causes it to cool, so those water droplets freeze and then fall out. And as they fall out, it leaves a hole behind. Sometimes we call it a hole punch cloud. I've seen them look like that too, where there was just a round hole. But typically, if an aircraft goes through there, that's what will happen. And if the plane happens to be flying kind of at that altitude where the altocume deck is, and then it'll just scrape it out, kind of like a cultivator would behind a tractor, like making a furrow in a bean field or something like that. And I also get this question from time to time, especially when we have a lot of moisture and warmth coming from the Gulf, and that is, why isn't the rain salty? Because after all, the water here in the Gulf is salt water, but it's actually pretty simple. When water evaporates and becomes water vapor, it goes up, it leaves the salt behind. Condensation then is the cooling that causes it to form a cloud, and then the cloud eventually will lose its water, but as it does that, the water is purified and it leaves all those minerals and salts behind. So that's why we don't have a salty rain. Now, sometimes we can get a little dirt in the rain. You've seen that happen before, sometimes in conjunction with storms or fires. And that's a different process, because what's happening here is the rain is then falling through suspended dirt or smoke or particulate. And so it comes down and it makes the rain dirty. But the rain, at least by the time it gets to a cloud, is as pure as it's going to get. It's nature's way of recycling the water. And as I often tell school kids, we've been recycling and reusing the same water here on the planet since the planet opened up for business millions of years ago. So the water you drank today, the water that's coming down out there now, is water the dinosaurs swam in. It's water that Abraham Lincoln took a bath in. I mean, you name it. Same old water out there. Kind of wild when you think about it, too. All right, we will check your questions again. Chris Smith, strong storms, I mean. Yeah, and that big temperature swing has everybody's attention. We've all been looking very carefully at that situation. A couple of things are not playing in favor of severe weather. One is that the rate at which the atmosphere cools going up, we call that the lapse rate, it's not real steep, or in other words, it's not a drastic drop in temperature as you go up. And so that would be conducive of hail and also rapid condensation, heavy rainfall, and so forth. But in our case, the rate is not going to be quite as pronounced. And secondly, not a lot of shear, not a lot of lift, not a lot of instability. So, you know, we don't really have all the ingredients. You would think we would. And it's a valid point. You know, I mean, if you look back at December 10th, for example, 2021, when we had the huge tornado that came across western Kentucky, same kind of scenario. We were at 68 or so on one day, and then it dropped down to 22 or so the next day. But in that case, we were in a different position with regard to the weather system responsible for it. So we had the lift and the instability and the shear and all the other factors that you would need in order to produce severe weather. They don't always line up, and sometimes we get a quiet drop from 70 to 20, and hopefully this weekend will be just that. But it does bear watching, and we are certainly going to keep an eye on it for you. Michael Fecka will be here, Arden Gregory, Byron Douglas with updates as needed as we get closer to the weekend. So in the meantime, just enjoy the mild temps if you can see anything out there. And I will see you then on 14 News at 10 tonight, and then I'll be back next week. Thanks so much for joining again. Merry Christmas. Have a good night and stay safe.